Okay, now I want to talk about policing. I've made the point before. I'll make it again, briefly. Coming up 5 years ago, I heard a careers advisor on the radio talking about the new police recruiting, about how they wanted you straight out of high school, sequestered away at Bathurst College. 6 months later, you're a law enforcement officer. Now, prior to that, I don't know how far prior, but you had to complete an apprenticeship of some sort before you could even apply to the police. And I think getting rid of that was a fatal flaw. These young kids don't know the ways of the world. It's going straight into a cushy government job, and it is a cushy government job these days. I'm sure there's a few rough moments in the gig. They're also unlikely to police the area they're from. There's too much anonymity and unaccountability in modern policing in this country. And I'm with the abolish the police crowd. I believe we need law and order. But I believe the structure of policing in this country is too far gone to save. And what I would like to see is American-style sheriffs elected from the people that they're going to police. And also a strong veto power, so if people aren't happy with how the policing is being run in their town, they can oust any member of the police who's adequately investigated and found to be wanting in their execution of their duty. All the way to the top. All the way to the top. I come from a family of uniform wearers. My grandparents on my father's side were both police. My grandmother Joyce was one of the first 12 women in uniform in this entire country. She was made to retire when she got married, as was the practice in the 1950s. My father wears a uniform. He's in the Navy to this day. Although I think our Navy has been misused by consecutive governments and does more to help foreign adventurism in conflict than it does to defend this nation. A nation which sees very, very little for our involvement in all these foreign wars. We help the Americans and the British secure resources at our taxpayers' expense. I could at least understand, I wouldn't approve, but I could at least understand if we were getting something out of it. But instead, it seems to be nothing but a cost to us. And I'm worried that the police are going the same way. And I think that's completely unacceptable. So yeah, I'd like to see much more accountability in policing, a much more travelled contingent to be the raw recruits. I'd like to see a minimum age of 26. I don't want anybody without their fully formed prefrontal cortex having that kind of power and authority and having the qualified immunity to use a firearm on civilians, even if they're breaking the law. I think the law in this country is too complicated and corrupt as well. We need to simplify the law. There should be no reason why a sixth grade child shouldn't be able to hold the entirety of the law in their head and know whether they're in the right or the wrong. Now, I've got a pretty checkered past, but I don't have a criminal record. I have a lot of life experience. And given the opportunity, at my age, I'd follow in the footsteps of my family and wear a badge. Community policing. Giving warnings instead of putting young people into the system in their first offence. What's better for the community? It's certainly not what we have. Once again, I'll bring up Danny Lim. peaceful gentleman. You don't have to like his politics. You don't have to like his approach. He never hurt anybody. He never would harm a fly. And yet, simply because management wanted him removed from a public space, a couple of young thugs in uniform beat the shit out of him and put him in the hospital. I'm not sure if they've been held accountable or if they will be, but I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't. And that in itself is an indictment. So that's my thoughts on that. Now I got to get back to looking after my young fella. So I'll leave you with that thought. Peace, love, and kung fu. Black Eye out. Vote for me for sheriff.